What's going on, everybody? Welcome on into a special Sunday morning edition of Pro Wrestling Weekly right here on the Takedown on SI on YouTube. I'm Zack Haydorn, your host. That is Blake Lovell over there, your other host. Blake, we got some things we got to talk about, my friend. We got some things on our plate. What's going on?
I heard people were talking about this John Cena match.
Something happened with that.
I'm not surprised that we would be overreacting maybe to however this thing finished, but I don't know that I expected it to be like that in terms of that visceral of a reaction to what happened. But yeah, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna look at the good and bad maybe of why people are seeing it this way, and yeah, always a fascinating discussion when you get unique moments like this. So
it's pretty wild. I mean, it's pretty wild. Like, I don't know, obviously you don't want to over dramatize it, but John Cena has been a part of like WWE and pro wrestling for so long, especially for people my age. And it's like, you know, and even though he wasn't like the guy, like the focus of the company for quite a while now, if you really think about it, there still was always that element of like, oh, he's still around. He's there. He's in the background somewhere. And, you know, like I said, he probably still will be as an ambassador or whatnot. But the fact that he's essentially done with his in-ring career, if you believe him, that's pretty crazy to wake up to on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, it is. It's like, I don't think it's still probably a set in for a lot of people. And I think like you immediately, like for me, I was like the first thing, again, outside of just the reaction to how things went down, like it's just, I think you start getting nostalgic, like immediately. It's like you don't want to let go of that thing that has been there for so long. And like I feel like that also describes, like I feel like my fandom with professional wrestling. It's like it's that constant that's always there. And Cena, like for the longest time, and we mentioned this, you know, on the show we did several days ago. It's like that longevity. Like who else can you compare him to at that level? Like there's really not many people that compare like that. So as you think about all the way back to 2002, and like, you know, I think that's where, again, the value of making your mark right off the bat, I think is so important, because like he never from that point on felt like he was just an afterthought, right? It was like, this is a guy that is right there, you know, may have been at the United States title level and all that early on, but you just, again, you always had just that one thing that never lets you kind of just push him to the side. Like he was just kind of always right there. And so, so I think after something like this, like you're just thinking, man, all right, well, Cena's gone, but you know what? I forgot about that 2002 match or 2000. Like it just, you know, let me go back and watch some of that now. So,
yeah. We're going to break it all down on this show with you. The live chat is open. We got super chats open. If you want to make sure that your rant or rave or comment or question gets addressed on the air live, go ahead and leave us a super chat. Otherwise, be in the live chat here and just kind of seeing how things go and seeing what you guys think about last night. If you haven't subscribed to the Takedown on SI on YouTube yet, please do that. We got all sorts of stuff that drops on the channel throughout the week. We had our Saturday Night's Main Event prediction show drop. We've got interviews with Lillian Garcia up there. We got interviews with Lash Legend up there. So many other key figures in the pro wrestling business. So that is up there. So subscribe, hit subscribe. And also if you can, hit the little thumbs up video button on this video. It helps us out in terms of getting in front of some more eyes. So thank you in advance for that. So just in case you're waking up on Sunday morning and you're like, I don't really watch Saturday Night's Main Event. I don't have Peacock. I'm just going to rely on Zack and Blake to get me through this news. This is what went down at Saturday Night's Main Event and John Cena's final match. It was, in my opinion, a very good match from the perspective of they just had the crowd in the palm of their hands like the entire way. It was good guy, it was bad guy. The crowd was firmly on the good guy's side, and that was it. You saw a lot of AAs. You saw some AA through the table. You saw an AA off the top rope. John Cena just could not get Gunther down. Then the finish, Cena is in the sleeper hold for what felt like 2, 3, 4 minutes, and he would escape, and then he'd get put back in it. And then he'd escape, and then he'd get put back in it. And then by the end, he just did not have any escape left in him. He kind of like, you see him like submit from the perspective of like a look on his face of just like a little smile of like knowing it's over, and then he taps out. Gunther wins. John Cena gives up in his final match. Blake, so we have not had a pre-production meeting on this, so I don't know what your opinion is on this going forward. It'll be interesting to see where we're both at on it. What did you think of the match, and what did you think of the finish specifically?
Yeah, I thought the match was, I mean, about what you probably would have expected. Again, I think just given the two sort of different styles, and I think that was the point, right? I appreciate Michael Cole pushing the line. I felt like I started pushing in January, was like thinking about this match when these two were going to meet up, which we knew was going to happen at some point this year. I just kept thinking it is professional wrestling versus sports entertainment. And like when you think about that contrast, I think it was clearly on display here. Another thing I think you mentioned, it's nice also just to have someone who is very clearly the favorite and someone who is very clearly not the favorite and the person that the fans want to boo. Like there's none of this middle ground. Like it is about as clear as could be. And like I said, you can't always do that in this era. This was certainly a special circumstance, but it was nice to have that versus, let's say, if Cena faces, Punk or Cody or someone like that. Like it's just, it's a much different feeling. So I'm glad that in hindsight, I think this was the right choice because you knew you were going to get that dynamic of everyone is on his side. And I think that's exactly what you wanted. Now, for the finish.
Let's go.
So I'll be honest, like initially as I'm watching it, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I didn't love it. But I also think, like, to me, this is a very good lesson in maybe just the era of social media. It's okay to change your opinion sometimes after you sit and think about different elements. And that's what happened with me, was initially I'm like, I did not like that. And it's for all the reasons that a lot of people have said, where it's, I don't want to say hokey, Zach, but like the way it's executed, like, it's very dramatic, right? And I mean, we're talking about entertainment here. Like it's just sort of a smile and then the tap. And like, I think that's what a lot of people maybe didn't like about it. Just in terms of like, that's the way it happened. And also I do think there is an element of this is John Cena's final match. And even if he doesn't win, you want to feel like you get something that you can cheer about coming out of it. And I think that was the stuff we talked about a couple days ago, where it's like, okay, he doesn't give up. He loses, but he doesn't give up. And that's the thing you're cheering about, right? That you're getting the standing ovation, like, yes, like we knew it. John was never going to give up and all this other stuff, right? There were so many people who wanted that. And I'm going to add this too before I get to how I flip my opinion here. Sorry, I know it's go long-winded.
No, go.
I'm like, this is where we are. So I feel like it's one where when you have all that sentiment and the way you built it up, everyone's thinking, why is Gunther saying this? Why is he saying this? I'm going to finally make you give up. Well, we just learned so many times over the years. We've been trained to where it's like, heel says that. Come on, it's John Cena. He's not going to give up. Like, Cena's not going to give up. And I think it just, if you had a little more time to work with to build this match, and that's where I think there were some limitations of just having to, even though we knew where we were getting to, we didn't have a lot of time to build to it, right? And so I think that became a little bit of it almost felt like you were teasing one thing and you did the other. And I think that's where some fans are going to be pissed. Now, why did I change my mind? Because I think I now see the vision, pun intended here. Like, I think it's very
Did WWE
clear.
send you a commission check this morning or something
You
to
know,
drop that line?
maybe they did. But I think that ultimately, how I now see how this played out, and I talked about kind of the dramatic effects of the way he tapped and the smile and all that. But in hindsight, after the initial maybe shock reaction to it, I'm thinking, for starters, it makes sense because it is John Cena in an entertainment Hollywood actor type way giving us the final image of I just got nothing left. Like
Right.
it's a man who has accepted his fate. And I think that is about as Hollywood story as it gets, right? He has accepted this is the end, and that's why you get the smile. You get the smile because he's like, "Damn it, I knew it. Like this is it. Like this is how it has to end." And so totally get that now. And again, after you get past the initial reaction, I think that's where I got to. Also, the vision is, and now I see it. Like before, I'm not thinking this way because I'm so focused on this match, and I know people are starting to get there. But they're going to do this thing now with Gunther, where it's not just beating John Cena, it's making him give up. It is establishing that you did something that no one else could do within the realm of the story, and now you're going to do the same thing to Brock Lesnar. You're going to do the same thing to CM Punk when he retires. You're going to do the same thing to Chris Jericho when he retires. You're going to do the same thing to maybe an AJ Styles. Like, this is where they're going. And like I see it. I see why they did this because it
Yeah.
wasn't just about John Cena. This was also about Gunther. And I think that's the hard part to put your head around here because it's Cena's last match. This eventually became about way more about him than it became about Cena because you've now built a guy who, just as Randy Orton was the legend killer, like Gunther's new thing is going to be the retirement guy. Like he's going to send people into retirement.
Yeah.
And mark it down, Zach. I'm calling it right now. Minneapolis SummerSlam 2026. There's your match right there. It's Gunther and Brock Lesnar. Done.
And then, the other thing about that is too, and I'll get into my take here in a minute, but the other thing is someone is then going to beat Gunther too.
Yes.
Like, and not maybe not retire him, right? And people have already beaten him, right? I get it. But people beat Brock Lesnar before Lesnar ended the streak, right? I mean, so you're going to not only going to make your money off Gunther, but whether it's Obafemi or whether it's Braun Breaker or whether it's, I don't know, Javon Evans, like whoever it is that, is going to get a major rub from ending, the career killer or whatever. So you have that business to do too, if and when you want it.
No. Yeah. And I feel like that's how I would be shocked if that's not how they're thinking coming out of this. And, we can talk about, I'm also going to say this. I know the footage is out there of like the fans going after him. And look, I realize we want to just assume that's going to happen everywhere. It's not going to happen everywhere. This isn't going to be the new norm, I don't think.
No.
He's not going to get heckled in the parking lot and, all this. It's not, we're not in those days anymore. It's not the 1980s, okay? But
that's probably a good thing. Like,
right. It's the great thing that we're not going to see that everywhere Gunther goes. But so I don't want to, if this was Triple H talking, he'd be like, oh, well, that's exactly what we wanted, man. Like all part of the show, hey, this is going to happen everywhere we go now. That's not true. That's not going to happen everywhere they go. But you better believe they loved it when that footage came out.
Oh.
And so loved it because that's also part of the point is that it does sort of establish, I think, that you are you picked him for a reason. You picked Gunther for a reason, and I'm going to give you this other line here, Zach. See if you agree with me on this. I think I think Triple H is like living vicariously through Gunther. That's what I think. If you really look at this guy and the history in WWE, and especially since Triple H became the guy, like I think that's the case here. Like I think he just wants to go out and retire Cena, retire Jericho, retire Punk. Like I think that retire Brock. Like I truly think he is making Gunther into the guy like either A, he always thought he was, or the guy he knew he could be, whatever you want to do. But like I think that's it. Like that's his guy. If you had to pick one guy on this roster that's very clearly been his guy and the guy he wants to mold into being that old school heel, it's this guy. And so I don't, for all the stuff and the chance and everything, I will give him his props for that. Like, other than the fact that they had Jay beat him, and I know that was a questionable move for a lot of people, but I still thought at the time it was the right move. I just, he has been that entire, he's the Triple H model. Like, that's who he is. And I mean, I think coming out of this, they know exactly where they're going with him. And I think that's the important part, right? This has to mean something.
Right.
This can't be Brock breaking the streak. This has to mean something significant for the rest of the way. And I'll throw this at you because I've seen this debated. Do you think Gunther can be that guy? Like, can he be that top, or is he missing that? Is he missing something? Which, again, let's think about drawing the parallels to Triple H with that. Wasn't that always the knock on him? Is that it just felt like he wasn't Austin, he wasn't Rock. He was just like that other guy who you had to have, but he wasn't that. And so I think it's a fair question.
I think it's a very fair question. And I think you're going to see. I mean, I think clearly Triple H thinks he can be a guy. Otherwise, you don't do this, right? But we'll see. Like, we'll see. Year 2, 3 from now, like what happens when you get some of those other chapters in the story. Because, like you said, this is early. This is like early in the book, of Gunther, not later. And so we'll see. Guys, this is Pro Wrestling Weekly. We're live here on the Takedown on SI. Normally, our live weekly show, Pro Wrestling Weekly, takes place on Thursday afternoons, 12 Eastern, right here on the Takedown on SI on YouTube. Make sure you check that out on a weekly basis. Obviously, all the shows live on the YouTube channel, so you can go back and watch old episodes. But we thank you guys for being here. Great live audience today. Want to get to some comments, and then I'm going to dish on this match here. We got Digital Finance in the live chat says here, Cena deserved better. WF says, horrible finish. How do they make Cena tap out to Gunther, but not McAfee? Fair. Let's be real. They're trying to overcompensate for Gunther tapping out to Sami Zayn and Jey Uso. Holstro says here, he didn't want to live the rest of his life doing the same motto he's done for years. I think the next retirement match for Gunther will be AJ Styles, Chris Jericho, and then Brock versus Braun Breaker, maybe. It's good stuff. I just don't think it was a horrible finish. I think if you're watching this run and you're watching the retirement tour and you just listen to John Cena, not just this year, but over the years, like, I think this was, an obvious call. Like, the other element is you're not supposed to like the finish. Everybody's like, I didn't like the finish. Horrible finish. It's like, you're not supposed to. That's the whole point. Like, that's the whole idea. And I don't mean from the sense of like, okay, now go chase around Gunther and, throw batteries at him like the territory days. But like, the bad guy won. This is like, it's like Empire Strikes Back in Star Wars. It's like the end of that movie is, you don't feel nice after it. You just don't. And it sets up the rest. And to that end, like, given the fact that I think that that's what this was, and the fact that it got this reaction where where the crowd's actually booing Triple H as he's walking out, like, to me, if I'm John Cena, I'm sitting there going, thank you. Like, my masterpiece is complete. Like, this worked. And again, it's not, I totally agree with you. It's not going to manifest itself in people chasing down Gunther's car or following him at, airports and stuff like that. It won't be that. But you can bet if WWE is smart, Gunther stands in that ring on Monday Night Raw and has a moment. Like, they have to have something big to follow this up. And if they do it right, that will be a memorable moment also. So I love the finish for that reason. I think the actual execution was a little hokey and I'll say for two reasons. The first one being, God, like, I know John Cena is known for like being loud in the ring in terms of calling spots, but holy crap, man, like, he's in the hold and he's like talking to him and it's like, like, I don't know. When you watch it back, John, you're gonna want to do that one again. Like, I thought that was just it hurt the drama because you could
Yeah.
see them talking. And I think like 9 times out of 10, hearing that kind of stuff in a wrestling match doesn't bother me at this point because I know what happens. But I think back to like that Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle match at WrestleMania 21, where Shawn's in the ankle lock, right? And like just how much drama you're able to get from that submission. Like I think that the match was kind of like designed for a moment like that, but they didn't really get there because you could see John going, "All right, just back me up," or whatever you say.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that. And then the smile was a little like hokey John Cena because that's John.
But it fits. It fit exactly that's John Cena, man. We shouldn't have expected anything different, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I loved it. I thought it was well done, and I think the more pushback it gets, like just the more I'd be sitting back with a glass of whiskey if I was John Cena and just enjoying the fruits of my labor.
Yeah.
As far as Gunther goes, what do you like? This is a huge moment, right? And in the interest of building on that and like capitalizing on it, and like you said, like having it be like an important moment, how do you think they need to fully take advantage of this? Not necessarily like, okay, he's going to retire Brock Lesnar in 6 months, but like right now, how do you capitalize on it now? Because Gunther's not in the world title picture on either show. He just came back. Like, what do you do with him now to keep, that momentum at the highest level possible?
See, and I think that's another important element of this is that you have to have guys on the roster that don't have to be in the title picture that can feel very important. And I think like this immediately establishes him as that. Like he can have a different shtick that doesn't revolve around being the champion. And
Right.
Again, like we talked about earlier, like if you just think about that rotation of guys, whether it was Triple H, Austin, Rock, Taker, Mankind, like, keep going. You had certain guys where you're just like, he doesn't have to be you don't have to be chasing the title. Like he's still an important part of the show. And I think that's what you have to establish here starting tomorrow is that, I think it's going to go one of two ways. Either he will be on the show tomorrow. I don't think there's any question, but like you don't want it to be one of those things where he's on the show, he says something, and then, well, we don't have anything for you until the Royal Rumble. Right? Like, and I feel like there's a lot of that sometimes because they just move at a glacial pace because they don't have to go fast these days. And I think you certainly want to establish, and I think this is the best way to do it to me, is like, okay, he just retired John Cena. Next, even though he may not be challenging for the world title at WrestleMania, I don't know, he's got to immediately say, I just retired Cena. Now there is nothing on my mind except for winning the Royal Rumble in January. And, I'm going to rightfully get back my championship or whatever you want to do. Even if he, again, doesn't get there, I think this is where the importance has to be established. And like you said, if the timing was different, you could immediately go into, all right, here's AJ Styles or here's Brock or here's whoever, right? But you do have to, I think, say some of that. Tomorrow night, you need to set the tone that, like, hey, for anyone else, any other legends out there who are, thinking about retiring or whatever, he's basically become the Grim Reaper to where he is going to show up right at that moment and they're going to realize I'm screwed because here is the man who has retired Cena and now he's coming for me. And I think that's what you want to make sure you get out. So I think you have to accomplish two things on Raw. I think you want to establish that tone that this is not a one-time thing. This is going to be his deal. And I think it wouldn't hurt either to throw in the teases, right? Of if there's anybody in WWE now, if there's anybody who's thinking about coming back to WWE that wants, you know what I mean? And that's where, again, you can throw in the Jericho, like you're not going to mention the names, but I think you want to set those teases in motion as soon as you can coming off this. But I also think, what else is he going to do at the Rumble other than probably be in the match? And that's where whoever throws him out, if we assume he's not going to win, all right, like boom, you got something. Maybe it's Brock, maybe it's someone else, right? And so, I think that's the thing is like, look at the WrestleMania 42 advertisements. Who's not on there? Gunther's not on there, right? Like, he's not seen as one of the guys in one of those top matches, probably. But you have to make sure that you use this, coming out of it immediately. I don't think you want to just let this sit for a while. You have to immediately capitalize. And so, yeah, I think that's the most important thing. And like I said, I think the Triple H connection, they'll do it because, you're mentioning earlier, like, I mean, who was the first heel to ever win a WrestleMania main event? It was Triple H, right?
Triple
I mean,
H.
technically Yokozuna, but I mean, that didn't. I guess Hogan could also qualify that year in WrestleMania 9, I suppose. But your true official match, guy walks out with the title. So I think that again, you said it. It's okay for Cena to lose this match. I never had a doubt that he was going to lose, and I also think we have to remember, I don't think this was just Triple H 100% his idea. I think John Cena either was the mastermind of this or played a significant role in the way this thing played out. So some of people's, anger may be misguided in this scenario.
I wish I could add a lot more to that, but I can't because I agree with all of it. I think that if I'm looking at just the whole like game board of WWE right now, you've got the Braun Breaker stuff going on Raw and Punk and Seth, right? And Gunther not really involved in that at this point in time. On SmackDown at the highest level, you've got Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre, I guess, and then a pretty wide open vacuum as far as like opponents for Cody. So if you wanted to, I think you could slide Gunther over there and put him into a feud with Cody right away. At the same time, it doesn't feel like that's the plan for WrestleMania, or at least the reported plan for WrestleMania does not include Cody and Gunther wrestling. So when I look at that field, to me, all roads lead to Brock Lesnar. And I think all roads lead to a multiple match like program between Brock and Gunther. And maybe that starts at WrestleMania and maybe it ends at SummerSlam in Minnesota or something like that. But I think you can really like, it could almost be like, it could almost be like a little like holdover feud for Gunther, a lot like Cody Rhodes in between, losing at WrestleMania 39 and winning at WrestleMania 40. What did he have? He had like a 3-match series with Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam and then, in 2 other pay-per-views, with that. So I think that's a good holdover. Also, when you ask like, hey, what kind of star can Gunther be? To me, he fits more of the Brock Lesnar mold, than like the Cody Rhodes. Because there is something to your point of like, he doesn't have that, like the charisma that you need to be like a tip-top guy. Like, he's not John Cena. He's not The Rock. He's not Cody. He just doesn't have that. I think he has more of the Brock Lesnar star power of I'm going to kill you in this match, and I win all the time, and all you little faces that pop up on Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon and all that, like I beat you in the ring and destroy you, and then I go home, and that's what I do. Like I think he actually fits that mold more efficiently than he would. All right, go try to be the face of this billion dollar company. Like, to me, he's big bad. Like, he could be like a new version of how they use Brock Lesnar in terms of maybe he's not on TV all the time. Maybe he's not wrestling every single week, but when he does, man, it's a big deal. And man, it's and he wins, and I think you can establish that and work to establish that right away.
Yeah, and I think it's like he can work the epics that Brock probably couldn't work. I mean, early in his career, like
Good
Brock
point.
could, but it was more explosive type stuff versus, again, I'm going to keep saying it. Like, I think that's why my Triple H comparison, like he can work those kind of like long type matches that are very cerebral. And I think, but like you said, he's never going to be the face of WWE, in my opinion. And the reason why is because he's best to be in the heel. Like he's I don't know. And again, yes, there are going to be times before he retires, and I'm sure when he retires, everybody will love the guy. But we're a long way away from that. And the best role he's going to play is the exact role that he has crafted, including what he did last night. And that's never going to be the guy that is, like you said, doing all the talk shows and like he's not going to be doing all this. And I think that that's where you have to make sure you use him in that way. And I feel like you brought up like the Brock stuff, and it does feel like it would be a long time to wait to get to that. But now that I'm thinking of it, I'm like, you do have to kind of fast forward to WrestleMania now. Coming off of this is a December match,
Yeah.
and there aren't a lot of big spots left. Again, he's going to be in the Rumble. Why wouldn't he be? And then you're looking ahead and thinking, what is the bigger match out there outside of doing the one with Brock at WrestleMania? And maybe that is where it's kind of like, all right, Brock somehow wins that match, and then it is Gunther coming out and becoming Ivan Drago for SummerSlam and just completely, he's doing all the Rocky vignettes and training, and he is just going to come out and break, Brock Lesnar in his final match or something. Like maybe that's how you do it. Because I would think it's probably not a match you want to do just once if you know you have Brock. And maybe, again, if the rumors are true, he retires next August, which would make all the sense in the world given the location and the timing of it all. If those are kind of your options, I mean, you've still got plenty of time to do Gunther and Braun Breaker. You've still got time to get back to Punk. I think eventually when Rollins comes back, that'll be something you're going to revisit. There's still plenty to do, but I just think you want impact now. You don't want to feel like this is just a guy who's in holdover type stuff. Like he just all of a sudden got to the very, very top in a spot that no one else is ever going to have the claim to. I don't think you want to immediately just kind of slot him into it's going to sound terrible, a Drew McIntyre level role, right?
God,
where you've just become a guy that's there to serve the other guy. You don't want to do that.
Let's go to Adam in the chat, who says here, I had no issue with him tapping. How Gunther won was more important than just winning. I think it's a great point. And something that I kind of was thinking about as everything was going on with the ending of the John Cena era, right? The goodbye. It's that you went all the way with it, and I think WWE sometimes, and even on the same exact show, right? Even at Saturday Night's Main Event yesterday, you do this big Obafemi and Cody Rhodes match, but like not really. Like you did it, and it was fine, but like not really. Like you might as well have not done it because it was completely meaningless in the end, and you didn't. Cody didn't get anything by beating him. Oba didn't get anything by beating him. We're losing. It just kind of happened, and then nothing happens. Like there's no stakes in the ground for Obafemi at this point. He did fine, yeah, and he looked good, sure, but it just didn't really do much. You didn't go there. You kind of stepped on the line a little bit, and then you jump right off it. I love that this is like we're going there. We're going there, and who knows? Maybe it's not going to work. But you know what? No. We're gonna push all the chips in, because it's a big opportunity, and let's see what happens. I think, if you want to paint the Brock Lesnar beating the streak thing with a nice looking brush, you can say, well, that was the plan, right? Push all the chips in on Brock. Go all the way with him, and then Roman can beat him down the road. Good in theory, but you didn't have Roman where he needed to be in order to really get the most out of that. So it kind of fizzled away. Hopefully this doesn't. But I do think there's value in sometimes going all the way with what you're doing. And I give John Cena a lot of credit and Triple H for kind of rubber stamping this and going like, nope, we're going to do this. So let's do it. Let's not just have, I'm not just going to lose, but I am going to give up. Like that's the ultimate. And yes, you're sending the fans home a little unhappy. Such is life.
It's just right. The story's there. It's just, it is such an emotional story. And like at the end, right? Like it's always emotional at the end. And so I think that's where it's not surprising to see the reaction because I do think you can make arguments both ways here. Because in my mind, I did that when I felt like for an hour or two last night. Like I'm sitting there just like, yeah, like
This
I've
sucked.
got, yeah, like it's just there's both ways that I can support my theory as to why this was great or why I think it sucked. And I just think, yeah, like when you look at it, the ultimate irony was that Cena's time is no longer now. Like his time is up, and it's time for someone else to basically, again, be the future, be the guy moving forward. And again, whether that's going through someone else, I think it's just that's the whole philosophy here is that you're sort of signaling, hey, it had been your time for all these years, but man, you just realized that, hey, you're actually the one whose time is up. And that's how you do your send off. And like I said, Cena no doubt has a huge hand in that. And
Of
so
course, yeah.
it's just they didn't just do this and say, "Hey, this is what you're going to do, John." Like, no, that's not how this particular moment worked. I
No
guarantee
way.
you. Um, and I just think, yeah, like that's how I'm going to look at it. Probably, moving forward, is that this was just a situation where I feel like you know that you are going to have people happy, you're going to have people pissed off. Like it's going to be a wide range of emotions. And, it's just a matter of this is the direction they decide to go. Like you said, decide to go all in on a guy. And whether you think that they had already done that with Gunther, because I think to a certain extent it felt like they did, this
Yep.
does give him something that no one else can use for the rest of their career. And I do have more confidence that this particular regime has more of a long term plan for this than what the previous regime would have had, where, I would not have had that confidence. And it may not be the plan that everyone supports, but at least they have a vision for the future. And I think, too, Zach, like the reaction to this whole thing, why is Triple H getting the chance and all this? Like, some of that, and we know he loved it, but I think some of that is just, let's call it what it is. And I think this is where you get into the dilemma with WWE sometimes, is that you are never going to hear them admit any sort of weakness whatsoever. And I think it's just there is an over the top, braggadocious type visual that you're always seeing to where, again, whether you have worked in professional wrestling for 30 years or whatever or not, it's okay, I think, for us to sit back and say, they're going to tell us we're just marks or something, but it's okay to say this year hasn't been the greatest from a creative standpoint. And you've pissed off a lot of people along the way. And yes, you're still charging a lot of money, and Triple H is tweeting about how it's the highest grossing event, in arena event ever, and all that. And that's great because people are paying a ridiculous amount of money. But I think that reaction last night doesn't happen if you had done this the year prior or the year before that. I think it's just a culmination of so many things this year, whether the business financials say it or not, that I think just kind of came to a head last night and made it kind of the perfect storm for everybody to just, not everybody, but so many people to just kind of
Yeah.
turn a little bit, is because I just think there's been a lot of people unhappy, not just with the entire year in WWE and certain things and good and bad and all that, but I think it's the Cena thing to where now that we are at the end and we look back on this and I'm feel like, oh, I got to write my column tomorrow for the takedown on SI of the best and worst moments. I can easily identify 4 or 5 worst moments. Best moments, they're there, but again, it's there's a mixed bag here, and I think that's why you have such a mixed reaction after last night, because I don't think it was necessarily just directed at the way it happened. I think it was clearly directed at Triple H himself, who has not had any problem taking credit for all the highs. And yet, sometimes if there are things that people don't agree with or push back on, you're never going to see any of that, right? So,
I'm glad you brought that up because WWE has the luxury now of like it's a show. It's a show
yeah,
and it's all written and then blah blah blah. And we know this obviously, but we knew it 45 years ago. Also, the thing of it is, it's like I don't know how much you want to like lean into the I booked this thing on
right.
television. Like
Yeah.
seeing Triple H yesterday go on the post show and like talk about how I do what I need to do for the business and I will always put the business first. It's like, dude, like you don't want to go out there and tell everybody that you pulled the strings for the. You should go out there and be like, man, like if you're gonna do like a essentially a scripted post show, which is what that is. Like,
Yeah.
put it in storyline. Like, go out there and be like, it's a bummer that Cena did not get to go out on a victory. It's a bummer and it sucks. I know you guys are booing. Like, it's really disappointing. Like, I think that's a lot more effective than, oh well, yeah, I always put the business first. It's like, you didn't win the match. You didn't, like,
No.
you're throwing everything under the bus that you just did out there. I hated that part of this. I really, really hated that.
Zach, that is the thing that I wrestle with all the time because I'm like, it is like this is a different feel in this era than it was towards the end of the Vince regime, where everything was just about as dull it felt like as it gets at times. Not everything, maybe that's exaggerating, but I just think again there is such a need to say I have to remind you at every opportunity that I am the person crafting all of this for you, and I mean let's call it what it is too. Like, how many people were unhappy that in John Cena's final, Raw in Boston, who's the first person in the ring? Like, of course we know who it was. And who's the person standing in the ring as he's doing this? And like, I realized that the way they set it up, you needed him to be in there to get to the Dominic stuff and all that. But did you? Like, Adam Pearce has been the general manager for how long? And like, it's just, that's the kind of little stuff I think that will bother people. And that's why I feel like there's been so many of those type of moments where it's like, we want to make sure like, even, I hate to rip on this part, but it's like, even the end of last night's show, right? It's like, you have to, Cena doesn't get to, there's no speech, like there's none, it's just we want to come out and give you this, like, because we crafted this for you, right? It's like, some of that can be so over the top that it rubs people the wrong way, and I get it, like, because it can be like, even as look back in the day, there probably was no bigger Triple H fan than me. Like, I was all in on this guy when everybody hated him, and I'm just like, that's great, this guy's a heel, he's tremendous. But like, this is the kind of stuff, like, this many years removed, that I look back and I'm like, damn, like, those signs were there a long time ago of like just needing to be front and center for everything. And it's just that's the stuff that irks me, because I think we all grow and we learn how this stuff works, and this will show up on Unreal and it'll be hey, of course this is how it's going to go. We knew exactly how that, we knew they were going to chant AEW at us, and we knew everything, but it's just at some point you can only be fed so much BS and not just sit back and roll your eyes. So
yeah, and that's like, you can say, like, in pro wrestling, because it's scripted, you could retcon everything that you do, like
yeah,
every single thing that you do. If you have a show like WWE Unreal, you can spin it and justify it in some way. We got Zack in the chat here. Let me get to a couple of his comments. He goes, he was clearly flustered by the level of booing, Zack. I think he is Triple H or Cena, but I think Triple H, but both I think were a little taken aback. Zack also said here, Hunter's getting all the heat, not Gunther. How many shades of red did he turn? Here's the thing, like, yeah, I mean, yes, is what I would say. He was a little bit, because I think, and it's going to get to like a final question that I have here, but I guess we could just get to it right now. Do you think that if the retirement tour went differently, like, do you think that if he had a full year of just like full on babyface, and he won the world title as a babyface, and he just was the John Cena that he was for the last 3 months, right, throughout this entire run, do you think that there's a different response here, or is it just that they got him? Like, that they just hooked the fans so much in we love John Cena and this is his final match and we want him to win, man. We want him to win. And then he didn't. Like,
Yeah.
Where are you, or somewhere in between? Because those are obviously kind of polar opposite ends of the spectrum.
It has been such a, like we said, a split year, really. And that's what it feels like is for some people, they're still not going to be able to forget just how bad things turned after the
And it
one
was
moment.
bad. Like, let's not
It,
like
yeah, it was
sugarcoat
bad
that.
stuff. I mean, it's bad professional wrestling. Like, it just became bad
Yes.
sports entertainment. Like, whatever phrase you want to use, like, the stuff just wasn't very good.
Yep.
And I think that's the thing. Like, and again, going back to this column I'm going to write, I think I absolutely, in the best moments, have to put the heel turn as it happened at Elimination Chamber as one of the best moments. But I also have to, in the worst moments, say basically everything that came after it in the heel John Cena era, of that many months, right? I
Yeah.
really I feel like I have to split the two because they were so different. Because in the moment, it worked great. But once you realize they had no plan of where it was going, it just completely fell off. And I think that's when and your question is like, would they have had the same reaction? I think when you set the expectation on March the 1st that you were about to get some sort of pairing of John Cena and The Rock somehow hand in hand trying to take down Cody Rhodes, and you were thinking of all the ways, knowing that what they did the year before and having The Rock involved and how important that was. Like,
And how
let's
good it
not,
was. How
let's
good it was.
exactly,
It was
let's not
good.
act like. I still feel like some people do that. They're like, well, it was real still about Cody. No, if they didn't have The Rock for that, it would have been good, but it would not have been to the level that it was. Like,
Right.
nowhere
Totally agree.
close.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
when you set that expectation, automatically, I think you're going to feel the disappointment of what came after it. And again, it was so disappointing. And I brought it up the other day. Anytime you're going to look back in the trivia and say, who helped John Cena win the title? It was Travis Scott. And I just think, done. There's nothing else to be said. Like, I could write that for the column in one sentence and
Bad.
say, here you go. Here's the description right here. And there's nothing more that needs to be said.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that they turned it around, and we also have recency bias, I think you still would have had some of this reaction. But I think I also said earlier, I think it's the build itself. And I almost feel like you may have went just a tad bit too far in making fans think that you were leading them in one direction, and then you sort of came up with something that was a little bit more clever. And yet sometimes people just want to be happy, right? And
Yeah.
I feel like that is, but that's a juggling act. And I'm not going to blame anyone for that because it is. It's the juggling act. And you said it earlier. If they just like half-ass this thing and decided to go the middle instead of all the way, you'd still have a lot of criticism of like, well, it was kind of like Cody and Obafemi, right? They were not going to go all the way.
Okay.
They were going to stop in the middle. But
Yeah.
they went with it. And like I'll give them a pat on the back for that. They decided to go all the way with it, and knowing that you were going to get this reaction. So
Zack in the chat says the latter. Zack, those fans wanted Cena to win his final match just the same way the fans in Greensboro would have rioted if Sting had lost his. And so this is where where I say like it's a home run. Like
yeah.
and then also Zack says here he should have had a different opponent that he could have beaten. And that would have been my final question, and I'll give you a little chance to think about this, is should they have put a different person in that slot? And the thing is, like, you of course could have. Like, if you did John Cena against The Miz, right? Or even John Cena against Dominic, or Cena against, like, I don't know, Grayson Waller or somebody like that, right? You could definitely have done that. But then all it is like a party. It's a party.
Yeah.
It's a celebration party for John Cena. And I think for some guys that works. I think for Sting, because of the aura that he had and because of the character that he was and because of where they were and because of the company that they were in, it worked better to just send him off with a victory. But here, I think did people really just want to have like a John Cena party? Like, I guess maybe, but if you talk about interest, you talk about intrigue, you talk about drama, having an actual match that mattered to people at the end, that people genuinely weren't sure about and people genuinely were invested in, like I think that is more of a feather in John Cena's cap than it would have been having this happy-go-lucky moment that, that you could have with Joe Hendry any given Monday,
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think that's also the part of this where I'm just like, it's one where you look at just the way the thing played out, and I feel like it is sort of a situation where with Cena, I can't envision a scenario where Cena would have said, let's say they delayed the championship win to now, to where its final match is can he, like, let's say that's the story instead of whatever you think the overarching story was for this. They spent the entire year chasing number 17, right? And it's his last match and he's facing Cody or whoever. I just, that's where, again, you talk about the predictability and all that. I don't see anyone who would have thought John Cena was going to win the title on his last night and retire as champion, because that's not John Cena. Think of every interview he's had over the past 6 months, last year. Everything has been about, how do I give back? How do I give back? And, that's kind of been the story of the second half of the run, too. Actual on-screen storylines. It's a guy who's giving back. Like, you can tell the way they've worked it. Whereas the first part, it's the guy who's going to ruin wrestling. Just saying that out loud, it's just so ridiculous. But it is, like, think about that. God. And that's the point, right? Like, here's a guy who literally 6 months ago wanted to ruin wrestling and was having just some of the worst, I don't even know what to say. But that drastic shift, I think, reset. A lot of people were okay with it, as we said, and great. Like, let's just get this nonsense out of the way. And it's one where I don't think Cena was ever going to go out as the winner. And I can't say that with 100% certainty, but he was going to lose his final match. And if I'm really looking at the options of who it should have been and all that, there is, as I said earlier, and I know someone in the comments brought up, I think it was John Wayne Rides Again here, bringing up Braun Breaker. There is no one, maybe outside of Seth Rollins, that Triple H trusts more than Gunther. Yeah. And you can see that in the booking. You can see that, and maybe Rhea Ripley. Like, those are his people, and you can see the way they have kind of crafted all of those three over the years since he took over. And if you're looking at this and saying, do we put Braun Breaker in there? Do we put someone... I can remember there were people clamoring for Obafemi to be the guy. He comes in out of nowhere, wins the tournament, and he faces John Cena. You're not going to put anything to chance in a moment like that. And for all we say about the finish, the match was exactly what it needed to be. Yeah. And there was no one, probably, again, maybe outside of a Seth Rollins, who was going to execute that the way, and Cody too. I guess I should probably throw Cody in there. But we'd already been down that road. It had to be Gunther for all the obvious reasons. And so I don't know if it should have been anybody else. I don't know if it should have kind of had a different climax unless you just decided to drag out the title. And, but the way they were doing it, and we could tell they were trying to get to all of these matches, you just knew, like, they were not setting this up for a final Cena versus an old rival. Yeah. It was going to be Cena versus someone he hasn't faced before, and I can't push back on the idea that Gunther probably was the best choice of the bunch.
Yeah, I can't either. I mean, I think if you think about other names that could have been that guy, right? Braun Breaker definitely would be on that list. I think he would be on the list. Yeah. Except that he's got his own stuff going on. I mean, he is in maybe he's not this high profile of a spot. But that dude's going to be on Netflix on January 5th, wrestling CM Punk for the world title. Like, you can't give everybody the same push, but you have to give multiple people some push. And so you got to pass the love around a little bit. Who are the top guys? Okay, well, it's Braun Breaker. Okay, well, we got a lot going for him. It's Gunther. All right, we're going to give him this. Obafemi is doing that thing with Cody. You know, that's solid. It's not all the same, but it's solid. And I just think, I don't know, there's something about and then they said this in the narrative of the match last night. There's something about the sports entertainer against the wrestler that I think plays really well with John Cena and Gunther, more so than it would John Cena and Breaker. Because John Cena and Braun Breaker, I think they're going to be like similar-ish baby faces.
I was going to say, I don't think Breaker's going to be like the definition of professional wrestling. Like, he is going to be a character.
Yeah, exactly.
Not saying he can't wrestle, he can, but like you're going to accentuate the visuals, like the facial expressions, just the promos, the Scott Steiner-esque, type, just aggression. Like, that's what you're going to accentuate of him. And so that's, he's going to be more like that than he is of Gunther. And I think for me, it's the trust factor. And I agree, like, again, the comments, John Wayne writes again, like, Gunther didn't need it. I agree with you on that. I mean, he's not someone that needed it more than Breaker. But I think this went a little beyond that, of that. I think it was a matter of trust. Who do I trust to execute the story that I want to tell here in Cena's final match, and maybe the story that Cena wants to tell? Because you would hope that they weren't just deciding this a week ago of what kind of story they wanted to tell.
No.
You know what I mean? They've had this idea for a long time. Cena's had this idea of how it's going to end for a long time. And so we didn't just get here in a production meeting on Thursday. So if you keep that in mind too, this has been something that's been in the works for, I would say, months. And I just think that, that the trust factor was very high with Gunther, more so than maybe any other available person that they had. And it went the way they wanted it to go. And now it's about, can they hook people for this final run here, I think, again, for all these other guys, these retirement tours, because I think it's the direction they're going, is he's going to be the guy who retires as many people as he can, and that's going to be the story, maybe.
Just want to point out here, Zack says with a smile on his face, no less, tapping out with a smile on his face.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a smile of like, oh, this is nice, like this is happy. It was a submissive, like,
I can go to sleep now. Like, it's like I can go to sleep now. That's how I read it. It's like, okay, man, like, I'm exhausted, time to go to bed. Like,
right, exactly. Like that's what it was. And so it's just, I think that that matters. Like, I think that the nuance there matters a lot in terms of, like, showcasing that. It wasn't like, oh, okay, I did it. It was like, oh crap, like, they got me. And I think that's important. All right, last thing before we kind of wrap up here, and I want to make sure we cover this because it's a big part of the night. Do you think how do you grade, like, the retirement part, like after the match is over, what they did, like in terms of like coming out? Do you think Cena needed to give a speech? Did just take that, like, what did you think of what they did there?
What percentage of the crowd do you think was expecting a speech?
A lot. 90.
I'd say a high percentage.
Yeah.
I thought it was a bit of a letdown to not get any of that. And again, maybe this is John Cena's decision, I don't know, but that just felt like a missed opportunity to me. Think about all the backlash to the Goldberg thing, and this is so different in that, like, you have no limitations. Like, how many times do we hear that in interviews this week? Like, we're going to get however much time this thing's going to take, it's going to take. Who cares?
Yeah.
And I know that again goes back to the who came out, right? Instead of getting a Cena speech, like, you just had to get the video. You had to get, like, all this stuff. And it's nice to see everyone around, like, doing that stuff with the other superstars and all that. But I don't know, man. Like, it's a retirement. And I'm not saying we're never going to see Cena again. And maybe they're like, you know what, we're going to save the speech for when he goes in the Hall of Fame next year, because that would seem inevitable. But I don't know. And that's the thing too, as Zack says. I mean, maybe there
Yeah.
was just so many boos they had to call it off. I don't know, but it felt a little out of place not to have it. I appreciate all the other stuff they did. I think it's WWE. Any chance they have to use a video package, they are never going to shy away from it.
No, never.
And I did appreciate it. Was very well put together. I'm half joking there, but I still think it wouldn't have been the worst thing to hear from John Cena. Um, and again, if you wanted to tie it up in a way to where you lessen some of the backlash, maybe there is Cena saying something, right? That eases things a little bit to where it's, I don't even know what he would say, but, basically to justify why he gave up, right? And I think that, I still think that was warranted, but I don't know.
I agree with you. I think his speech would have been a nice way to go on a couple of different levels. Like one, I I don't know what you would say really, like if you were John Cena
Yeah.
at that point, because you're John Cena. You just went on every single interview thing that you possibly could go on. I don't know how much there is to say. I do think you could have deadened some of the pushback with a speech. Just
Yeah.
that's how you send the fans home happy. Like let Cena cut this pro WWE, pro everything, and this is awesome promo. And I think you could have sent the fans home happy that way. I also think that WWE potentially, and they won't recognize it this way, but they should. Like I think they hit a breaking point with like how far can we go into like mining these scripted things for other scripted things. Like
Yeah.
when you go out there and immediately the booker is booed because John Cena lost the match, and this is on the show, you've walked too close to that line. Because at that point,
Yeah.
there is nothing Cena can say to kind of pull that back. He can't go, well, guys, I told Triple H that I wanted to lose this match, because then the whole thing starts to unravel.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, in theory, I can see the discussion backstage of like, okay, we're gonna do this. Cena's gonna lose, but then we're gonna do the retirement thing, and we're gonna come out and we're gonna play this video, and that will send the fans home happy. But I think what the audience told you was, hey, because of the way you program stuff, because of how you talk about your own company and your own storylines and your own wrestling, like
Yeah.
we now know that it's not that wasn't a physical contest that John Cena lost. It was a decision that was made backstage, and I think you are unable to have really cool retirements when that is the premise. When that is what people are thinking, you can't have, a Sting level, retirement. You can't have, even if you think back to Ric Flair, losing that match to Shawn Michaels, and then afterwards the whole crowd, going nuts. Like they didn't have Vince McMahon go out there and go, wow, this is a really great storyline I wrote. It was just, no, I lost, and now I'm retired. I think what the retirement part of this told me, definitely touching, definitely, nice video package. But it told me that, like, hey, you're going a little too far. You gotta pull back. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to leverage anything, because everybody will just believe that Triple H is just running the whole thing.
Yeah. And I just think like it would have been just even something, it doesn't have to be some big speech. It can just be like that final send off line, right? I mean, like it's a movie. I mean, hey, we're making movies here, pal. Like it's just,
right.
What's that final send off line? You don't need 20 minutes. You don't need anything like that. But is there something you can say that ties into the story? And like I said, I don't know what that would be. I mean, that's what they get paid for. They could probably come up with something. But that at the very least, I feel like could have done some good. But again, it was a fine send off. Like you're not gonna, I think, be that upset about it. They're too upset about everything else. But I would have liked to hear something, even again if it's 3 words or whatever. Like I just
Even if it was
whatever,
like off
just
the air too. Like if it was something that they posted like on socials afterwards or something like that. Like,
I mean, and this was different than Goldberg, but like I don't think it does do you any favors and like the way that was executed, and now like to maybe just not have Cena say anything. I don't know. That's that's armchair quarterback too, of just now after the fact we can look at it and say, well, should have done this, should have done that, but they're just over there counting their cash.
And there's also an element to this too of like, John Cena could have been like, I don't want to give a speech.
True. Yeah.
I'm not giving it. Like that, that always could be part of it. And yeah, you could try to convince him or whatever. But I mean, I think if you believe what everything that's been told, Cena didn't plan out their full retirement tour, but clearly he had a say in it. Clearly he had a vision for it. And hopefully it went the way he wanted. I think it's poetic, especially for this guy, for John Cena, to have such a 50-50 reaction to the end of his career. Because like that was the story of his career. Let's go see this. Cena sucks. And he finishes, and there's still a debate out there. I think that's poetic in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I agreed with that. So
guys, thank you. This was a blast. Appreciate everybody who joined us. Again, this is a special edition of Pro Wrestling Weekly here on Sunday morning after John Cena's retirement. We are typically live with this show every single Thursday afternoon, Thursday, 12 Eastern, right here in the Takedown on SI. Hit subscribe so you know when we are live and when we drop all of our other content. Thanks so much to everybody who joined us in the live chat today. We got John Wayne Rides Again, Zack, and Adam. Who else joined us today? Let's see. We got WF and Holstro and Digital Finance and so many other people hanging out there. We appreciate you guys. If you can like this video, that'd be great. It helps us reach more eyes. And also, tell a wrestling friend what we got going on over here. That would also be a big help. And we'd love to, get in front of some more people with this show on a weekly basis. Blake, any final words of John Cena or just in general as we go into Sunday?
Never give up, Zach.
Wow.
What else could I say? I don't know. This is one that will be talked about for a bit. Like I said, we're gonna have plenty of stuff on the Takedown on SI. I think my column will be interesting once I write it and actually wrap my head around the best and worst of as I look back at a lot of the stuff, which again I already kind of have my top candidates for those. But yeah, like it is going to be one that's talked about for a bit. But if you use it the way I think they're going to use it, I think we're going to look back on this and realize there was an obvious plan, and we'll see if they can execute it in a way that works. So,
just like anything else in wrestling, it's all in the follow-up. And we'll see what that is on Raw and SmackDown and beyond. Thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate it. Once again, this is Pro Wrestling Weekly here on the Takedown on SI. I'm Zack Haydorn for Blake Lovell. Have a great rest of your weekend, guys. We'll talk soon. See ya.